the elite in the United States don't often suffer consequences. When they do, it's a cause celeb, say, like a Hollywood producer. But for the most part, if you look back at the last however many years, if not decades, many, many wealthy and powerful people have acted badly. Industries have acted badly, and they have often gotten a slap on the wrist.
Let's ask Reed Galen, co-founder of the Lincoln Project, founded by moderate conservatives and former Republican Party members who oppose the U.S. President Donald Trump. Good afternoon, Reed.
Thanks for having me.
Reed, I know you're a never-Trumper, but just objectively, why have no American citizens actually been held criminally responsible for this?
Well, I think it's a good question, and I think it comes down to something that Democratic Senator in Georgia, John Ossoff, coined just a couple of weeks ago, which is the Epstein class. And I don't think it necessarily has only to do with Jeffrey Epstein, but I think it has a lot to do with the idea of a very well entrenched and powerful financial and political elite. Remember that Jeffrey Epstein died several years ago. The Biden administration had these files in the Department of Justice, and the Republicans had them prior to that. And so I think there has not been any political desire among the two major parties or their parties' elites and their donor classes to have these files released. In fact, remember that it was two members of the U.S. House from very different parts of the American political spectrum, Ro Khanna from California and Thomas Massie, a diehard MAGA person from the state of Kentucky, who ultimately forced their colleagues in the U.S. House and then ultimately the U.S. Senate and the President of the United States to release these files. And so this is something that when Jeffrey Epstein died, I think there were a lot of elites in the U.S. who hoped that everything else had died with him.
So are you saying that this is a case of that bipartisanship that everybody always says they would like to have, except that the bipartisanship here is that Epstein acquired people from all parts of the political spectrum, and there are so many people across all parts of politics and the media who, frankly, do not want their friendship, their association, their actions to be see the light of day, that actually there's a kind of a, I don't want to use the word conspiracy, but there is a common interest in the light not being shone on what's actually happened.
I think that's 100% right. Now, I think there are a little bit different reasons. I think on the Republican side, because as you noted, Donald Trump is so deeply embedded in a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and in all of this information, that the Republicans, who are completely in his thrall, will not do anything they don't have to do in this regard. And then I think for the Democratic Party and its leadership, it's having to look in the mirror and say that there are some people, both in their donor class and who have been members of the party's elite and the elite in academia for many years, who were involved in this. And they don't really, I think, want to have to take account for that because, as you know, self-accountability is not something a lot of people like to do. And I will also say there's a broader thing, which is the elite in the United States don't often suffer consequences. When they do, it's a cause celeb, say, like a Hollywood producer. But for the most part, if you look back at the last however many years, if not decades, many, many wealthy and powerful people have acted badly. Industries have acted badly. And they have often gotten a slap on the wrist, or they have gotten a fine and a wag in the face and say, don't do it again. But we don't really hold our elites to account here in the U.S.
I thought it was a curious thing, by the way. Bill Clinton gave evidence last week, a week before last. And what was interesting is he seemed to absolve Trump of any involvement. Did you believe that?
I don't know what to believe. And frankly, to me, it all stinks. And so for me, I would say that, there's a group of people for whom they just want this to go away. Unfortunately, there are a smaller group of people, but more dedicated group of people who are refusing to allow that, specifically those women who have been victims who are now willing to make their voices heard and are finally being taken seriously years and years after they were abused.
Well, indeed. And this is an interesting point, isn't it? We've been talking for 3 or 4 minutes and we've basically talked about men. Is there a danger in all of this that the people who really should be front and center, who should be headline names and so on, are forgotten. I mean, if you look at the media, there's probably, for the average person, just one name that people know, which is Virginia Giuffre, but there are dozens and dozens of women who were allegedly victims of this exploitation.
I agree with you. I actually met one of the victims in New York City while we both happened to be waiting to do a television hit of all things. And she shared with us her experiences. There was a group of us there. And I'll tell you, it was chilling. It was 100% chilling and then infuriating. But I'll tell you this, it was also inspiring that this woman who had dealt with so much, who had been put through so much, who had been abused so badly, was now willing to tell her story. And so many others are now. And I think you're 100% right, which is we should not lose the plot here, which is this was ultimately about child sex abuse and trafficking.
The accountability process, of course, should run through Congress, and a congressional committee is voted to summon the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to testify. Some Republican lawmakers are saying that the Justice Department is actually engaged in a cover-up. What do you think?
Well, I think that clearly they are. First and foremost, they released all of these documents. But again, 3 million documents is a lot. They have gone out of their way to redact a lot of information, which, again, I don't know the legalities of. But I would also say this is that they have taken back some documents once they realized that they were harmful to Donald Trump. And he sees the Department of Justice as his personal law firm and Pam Bondi as his personal defense attorney. So we should not be under any illusion that the Justice Department did anything other than what they absolutely had to do at a minimum level. And even with that, you have seen the blowback and the outrage, I think, across the board from both very conservative and very liberal Americans about how this could have happened, how so many people in so many high places with so much wealth could have gotten away with this for so long.